As we're crunching the data along the way on those 55,000 assessments, something started to appear that we've actually given a name. We call it the entrepreneurial set. It's 3 measurements. Great strengths for an entrepreneur. It's what drives their creation. But it's also what drives everybody else crazy. So let me share them with you. Number 1, 97% of the time, entrepreneurs resist structure. How do you feel about rules? Well, does the rule make sense? It's based on, does the rule make sense? Not, it's a rule. They like to think outside the box. So they resist structure that confines that creativity, and they especially resist when someone tries to impose it on them. That's the structure. Number 2, over 65% have a real adverse problem with authority. When someone tries to do this with their thumb, you'll do it this way. Or they approach it in a way that pushes a trigger. Maybe it's the way an ex-husband or ex-wife said it, or a parent or a school mentor, whatever it might have been that was a controller. It just triggers it, and they throw the baby out with the bathwater. You see, entrepreneurs only value contribution, capability, competence, not title. I know he's the president, but he's an idiot. Just a little bit of that. For some entrepreneurs, they'll think it. For some, they'll be really tempted to speak it. And when we see this measurement all the way over to red, we know they've said it, and we generally ask an assessment debrief, so how many times have you been fired? Because management generally doesn't respond very well to someone resisting authority. The third measurement, 97% again. We're back to the 97%. 97% are constantly, obsessively, and if we all smiled, effortlessly thinking. What do you do to quiet your mind? Most entrepreneurs can give me answers. Well, I sleep. I try to meditate. I listen to music. I exercise. They've got things they do to quiet this mind because it doesn't stop at the end of a work day, the typical work day. A lot of people come to work at 8, they turn it on. At 5 o'clock, they turn it off and they go home. It's work. For the entrepreneur, it's effortless. It's just effortless. What a gift to give an entrepreneur a problem that they won't stop thinking about until they have a solution. They're not bound by restrictive rules. Whatever can happen to make this work better. And I'm not going to give my power to someone who doesn't know what in the heck they're doing. Isn't that a powerful thought? They bring that power, and if they bring clarity and knowing what needs to be done and how to do it and doing it in an organized way, oh my goodness, can an entrepreneur do incredible things. But buried in this gift are 2 very, very dangerous shadow sides. Number 1, we can get really attached to our ideas as entrepreneurs. I used the phrase in the last tape, mental construct, a new reality. When we have thought through an idea as thoroughly as we do, we either have life experiences that tell us that other person's idea won't work, or we played it out so clearly in our mind, we know that other person's idea won't work. So why waste time going down a path that won't work? Just listen to me, please. And all of a sudden we find ourselves in what's called a right-wrong conversation. Okay, so there's the first challenge. Here's the second challenge. It's very subtle. When we spend this much time obsessively thinking, not only do we get attached to these thought processes, we also put other people at jeopardy. We might have someone go do some research and come back in a report. Again, they might have started at 8 o'clock and ended at 5, and they went home and thought about other things. We don't stop thinking. And when we plug our mind back into this conversation and the person starts to share, there is a risk that we might start to identify the things they failed to identify. Well, did you consider this? Or did you consider that? Anybody been in that space before? Just take notes. Just take notes of the things that you're noticing that they may not have researched, because there's a very good chance they're not going to think as thoroughly as you do as an entrepreneur. And when you get done, try this. Great job. Now here's 5 more things I'd like you to take a look at. Come back and report in a couple of days. That way we're always lifting and building. These systemic thoughts are just so destructive. When we need to be right, we crush self-esteem. When we think more thoroughly than another and identify things they haven't thought of, we crush self-esteem. These 3 thought processes are very unique. They're called systemic thoughts. They're dualistic in nature, which means all or nothing, right or wrong, win or lose, life or death. There's no Pantone color schedule or scale. There's no gray scale. It's either or. It's a non-negotiable mental monolith. When we get attached to an idea and we stay in this kind of a thought process, we are going to be right and someone else is going to need to be wrong. Here's the danger. 96%. 96. That's 9.6 out of 10 people. It's virtually everyone. 96% of the people we're sharing with, when we need to be right, they need to be wrong. Their idea is attached to their self-esteem. And we're pushing one of those buttons. Wonder which one. Depends on their assessment. It might be we're calling into question their worth as a human being, their ability, their character, their contribution. Can you imagine? That's why someone fights to the death over, come on, this is so easy. No, we're not talking about the idea anymore. Someone is in self-preservation mode, protecting their self-esteem. How do we know this? 1, we've measured it. 2, how do you know it? Because you most likely, along the way, had someone try to control you. And they pushed those buttons in you, and it was personal. It's like they're calling into question your ability, like you don't know what you're talking about, or your worth as an employee or a partner. We can feel it ourselves. This is a really painful piece. We're going to want to know how to take this incredible gift to resist structure and authority and obsessively be thinking and use it to solve problems, but yet rise above the systemic thought to higher levels of mathematics, such as common sense. Well, I know their idea is inextricably connected to their self-worth. What could I do to validate their self-worth? What's it like to be in a relationship with me when I always need to be right? In the Og Vault, we talk about several things we can do to manage this thought process. We saved it for last because it is the single most difficult series of thoughts, these 3, this entrepreneurial set, the most difficult to manage. It takes high levels of awareness. When we learn how to connect with people, and people become more important than the idea, it helps us. When we're practical, and we use common sense, it helps us manage this thought process. When we have a healthy self-esteem, it helps us manage this thought process. We do not want to change these thoughts for an entrepreneur. They're one of the great gifts. They're part of the reason why you as an entrepreneur can be so powerful. They're also the reason why sometimes you can destroy people. And you don't want to destroy people to create a goal. You want to lift and build and grow the people. They're the ones that are doing a large part of the work in any program, in any process. So let's learn how to control the gift, not change it, manage it.